Well, hello everyone. This is Connie from Chaos to Peace Consulting, and I'm with Linda Binns, the energy expert. Hello, Linda. How
Hi,
are you
Connie. I
doing?
am great. Doing really well. Yes, happy to be here chatting with you as always.
Yes, we haven't chatted in a while, so I really missed
No.
you.
Yes, I missed it.
It was kind of odd to not have these chats in my
Yes,
calendar.
yes, it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about categories and types of clutter.
Mm,
And then like I will cover real quick what I'm was thinking about that, and then you as an energy expert and feng shui expert, you can chime in on that.
okay.
And so with categories of clutter, that's kind of like how I learned it. So for me, the categories are the things you don't use and you don't love, and that is what most people consider clutter. Like just whatever you is still hanging around or piling up in your garage or in your attic or whatever. But then we have a second category that is mainly things that are untidy or disorganized. And I sometimes feel like that's a little confusing when we call that clutter, because it could still be things we're using, it could even be things that we're loving. We're just not having a home for them. We're not having a tidy environment. It's more like everything is a little messy. And that is, according how I learned it, also clutter. But I find it is a little bit confusing
Mm,
when we call this clutter, because I feel that is just messiness, and that's a different issue in my opinion. But yeah. And then the third category is too many things in too small of a space, which is sometimes similar or goes in hand with the second one, where things just don't have a home. This is too, is like you stuff too much stuff into a room. And then the last category is anything unfinished, which most people don't even realize that this is clutter. Like if you have little repairs that need to be done, either it's on your clothes or in your house and they're just not done, that is clutter too.
mm,
And then the difference from the category to the types of clutter is like types of clutter for me is like physical clutter. And this is what, again, most people think about, would you trip over and possibly stump your toe on. Digital clutter, which becomes more and more a problem with our cell phones, our computers, iPads, and whatever digital devices we're having. Plus, under digital clutter, I also add all the cables that we have all of a sudden. All the cables we don't remember anymore what it was for. All the headphones that maybe are broken or not broken or like whatever. That's huge type of clutter. Then we get a little bit more into the ones that are harder to spot, like mental clutter, like limiting beliefs, negative self-talk, and multitasking. I actually put into that type as well. Social clutter is people pleasing and doing everything for everybody else instead of looking after yourself. And I also have emotional clutter, which it's like when you're not really processing your feelings, and you have resentments and anger and fear and worry that you just try to push down, and it's not really working.
mm.
So what do you think about all these categories and types, Linda?
Well, no, I agree with all of them. I think there are also ones that anything. One of the things I learned was anything that's not fixed. It's something that's broken and you intend to fix it, and you put it to one side. The chair where the leg's broken, or the clock that doesn't work and needs to be fixed or taken somewhere. And those things you sort of put to one side, intending to do something about them, but they sit there for 2, 5, 10 years, and you never really get around to do anything. So that can be an aspect of clutter as well. And speaking as someone who I don't do a lot of crafts, but I like to knit, and I know a lot of craft people who have projects started and not finished, like you said, but also who love to, and I did used to do this. Every time I went to England, I used to buy yarn, I used to buy and bring it back with me. And so I had what they call the stash, of things that you intended to do something with. Problem was, a lot of time that stayed, some of it I used, but I couldn't possibly use all of it. And a lot of it stayed there for many years without me doing anything about it, until I decided that I'd had enough of that. And I would only buy things that were current, that I was going to do a project with. I think another aspect that I've come across, and this has certainly been true for me as well, is things that were important to us in the past, but no longer are. So it might be something like, for me, it was when I got my degree, and all the work I put into it, all the essays I'd written, all the materials I'd done. And you tend to hang on to that because there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that.
Yeah.
And so the idea of letting it go can be painful or difficult. But after several years, I began to realize, why would I keep this? Because I have not referred to it one time, in all these years. And so then I was able to let that go. So those kinds of things that were important to us one time, that are no longer current. So I kind of, energetically speaking, I guess I would sum up clutter as anything that's not serving you now. You don't need it, you don't use it, you don't love it, you don't necessarily want it, but you hang on to it. And that includes, that's external, but it's also internal as well. It could be, I was talking to somebody recently she'd been in a couple of groups for a number of years. And she said, I just suddenly realized those weren't serving me anymore. And so I made the decision to leave these groups. And she said it was really hard because I'd been in them a long time. But that was cluttering up her life. That was taking time and energy, because it was no longer serving her. So I guess energetically, that's how I would sum it up, is like anything that's no longer serving you, and is not supporting you, because often we keep things, like if you've been through a messy divorce or something like that, and you came out of it, you're proud of yourself because you came out of it with the house and the furniture, and he didn't get anything. And so you're feeling good about that, but that can clutter up your life, because you've got energetically, you've got the memories, the association of that relationship is still with you, and that can stop you from moving forward. So energetically speaking, that does not support you anymore. So just thinking of it in those terms, I think it's helpful for me.
Yeah.
To see it that way.
Yeah. And I think whatever you said right now, all the examples, to me, they wonderfully fit in the categories and into the types. Like if you have, like one example you brought is with the social groups that don't serve you anymore. This is definitely social clutter. This is like when we're not realizing that we're just doing something because we always did it, or because maybe we feel a little anxious of telling the others we don't want to show up anymore. So, and then it's not serving us, and we have lots of resentment, and it just drags us or pulls us down. No, so anything that doesn't uplift you is also, in a way, like you notice, and a lot of people are not really aware of it in that way. Like we are not taught to more listen to our body, but you can fine tune your awareness, and then you actually feel whether something that is on your calendar, if we want to talk about social clutter, whether that actually uplifts you or whether that pulls you down. And especially if you're not used to listening to your body, that might be very, very quiet voice or very, very faint feeling inside of you. But the more and more you pay attention to it, the more you feel it right away, whether it's something that maybe you need to let go in the future, or right on the spot, or whether it's actually really something that is serving you.
Yeah. And I think, when I've worked with people in terms of feng shui, and I talk to them about one aspect of clutter, or something that's cluttering up their life, being something that has negative memories and negative associations for them. Once they understand that, usually they can always go and find something that they really, now I know that this has negative memories and associations for me, is affecting me in not a good way, then they're able to let go of it. But so for example, let's say you have some furniture from it was from a very messy divorce, and it was very upsetting and very painful. But you have this furniture, let's say it's a dining table and chairs, that's for argument's sake. And you might say, well, but it's not clutter because I need the dining table and I need the chairs, I need it to go in this room. So in terms of it being messy, or, you may not see it as clutter, but what I see it as energetic clutter, because it's something that is not serving you. And so it would be, you may not be able to replace it if you don't have the money to do so. But I would say as soon as you can, I would do so, because that is cluttering up your life in a way that you wouldn't want.
In an energetic way. Yeah. So actually we could then add the energetic clutter to the types of clutter. It's like, it's almost like, yes, it's something that is useful. I don't know, would you even say things that people love that come with some history they should let go, you as the energy expert?
Well, usually if it comes with a history, what they think when they really start to look at it is that they don't actually love it because of the history. If it reminds you of a really difficult time in your life, or it reminds you of someone who treated you very badly, you might realize when you think of that, I really don't love this. On the other hand, it might remind you of a difficult time, but you overcame it, you came through it. And so when you see it, that's what it reminds you of. I got through this. I came out of this stronger. So people would always ask me, should I keep this? What about this? Is this all right to keep? And I would say, it's not my opinion that matters. What does it mean to you? That's what I was always looking for. What does it mean to them? And then as they told me the story of it and what it meant to them, then it would become very clear to them right away whether this was something that was having a good effect on their life or not, and so then it started to become clear. So that's the question to always ask, is what does this mean to me? What do I think of when I look at this? What does it represent for me? Because that is the energy that you have in place right there.
Yeah, so we're right back to the awareness, because we're actually our own, we don't need to ask anybody else. Like we can maybe, like if people are not aware that they can ask themselves, they can like ask me or you about, okay, well, how do I go about it to decide whether or not this is clutter in my life, whether or not it's energetically uplifting or pulling me down. But then once they know what to look for, that's when they're going and looking inside of themselves. And
it's not about, I think, there are a lot of these shows, organizing shows and things like that, where people come in and just take everything out, that's okay, I suppose, on one hand, but really, and this is why it can be so difficult for people to declutter, and why there's so much emotional attachment, and why people find it so hard, and why they're looking for someone to tell them, yes, you must get rid of this, or no, you should keep this. You have to ask yourself, but we're not always honest with ourselves, and that, I think that's where it gets difficult sometimes. People will say, well, I don't really know, I'm not really sure. And if you're not really sure, then what are you going to do? You're going to hang on to it because you're afraid. Well, I think actually another, maybe this would fit into one of your categories of clutter, I'm not sure. And that's those things we hold on to just in case, just in case I might need it, just in case somebody else might need it. I know people who would actively collect things. They saw something being thrown out that was still useful. They would bring it home and hold on to it because somebody they know might need that someday.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, this goes for me. It goes into the first category: things you don't use or love. You
Mm,
just have. It comes from a scarcity mindset,
yeah.
from a mindset of lack, from thinking um, that when you would need it, you wouldn't have it unless you're keeping it now. So it's the same category whether you have it already and you just keep it just in case, or whether you're acquiring it just in
Mm,
case. It for me it goes into the first category.
mm,
You could say that it. Yeah, the second part, I know people too who go out and just in case get this, but we see this more, I feel, especially lately with, let's call it digital clutter, like, oh, this is like maybe an article, or it could be even paper clutter, like an article, maybe I need that in the future. No, it's, oh, when I ever gonna do this, maybe then I want to keep this. And I had that myself a little bit. So it can happen, for example, with ideas where to go travel when traveling was still a thing. So then I would see maybe somewhere an article digitally or on paper about a location that I actually really want to go visit. And so then I would keep that clipping, whether it was digital
mm.
or paper, but then I would never go there because for whatever reason wouldn't end up there. And then you have this stuff just in case, rather than once you decide, okay, I'm gonna travel to, I don't know, one of my things on my bucket list is Iceland. So rather than when I actually know I'm going to Iceland, trusting that all the information I need, all the places I really want to go see, that I will know about them, and I don't have to go and find, if I even still find it, all the clippings from 10 years ago, which are probably not current or relevant anymore. So,
That's true. For me, it's recipes. I do that with
yeah.
because I'll see a recipe and I think, oh, that looks really good. I'll save that and I'll do that. And
Mm.
and I used to cut them out of magazines or print them, and I have a binder. I was really organized with my binder. I put them all in the binder, and then not that long ago, I went and got this binder, this big binder, and I went through it to see exactly what had I made and what had I not made.
Yeah.
And I got rid of so much. And
Yeah.
now, of course, I keep them digitally. And that's probably something I need to go through
Yeah.
and get
And
rid
the,
of some
and
of
the
those.
interesting part is, so when I help people, whether it's recipe or travel, it doesn't really matter. When we keep something just in case like this, let's stay with the recipes to
Mm,
illustrate the example. The interesting thing is, if you now would decide, okay, now Christmas is coming up, I wanna bake, or let's say Thanksgiving is coming up, I want to bake a pumpkin pie. Most people I know go Google
yeah, pumpkin
recipe
pie.
for pumpkin pie, even though they have probably about
Yeah.
10 in their
Mm.
physical binder and some in their digital binder. So this is the interesting part. And
For
yeah.
me, it's more because I have a primarily vegan diet, so I'm always looking for interesting recipes, things I hadn't thought of. So for
Mm.
me, it's more that if somebody comes up with something I wouldn't have thought of, then I that's when I'll keep it and think, oh yeah, that looks good. I want to try that. It's something
Mm.
new and it's something different.
Mm.
But I agree with you. Yes, if I wanted to make a pumpkin pie, I would go and Google it.
You would
Another,
probably Google how to make a vegan pumpkin pie.
yes,
And the thing,
I don't like pumpkin pie, but anyway,
but
beside the point.
even like I could see you most likely remembering that you have it somewhere. So maybe you would go and look for it because
Mm,
you're an organized
mm,
person. But most people keep these clippings digitally or
yeah.
on paper and have them somewhere, and they would never find it. So they have no other choice than go Googling
Well,
it. And
even
so
having
then,
them in the binder was difficult
yeah,
because yes, it was organized in a binder, but I couldn't remember what was in there. So from
yeah,
time to time, I get the binder
exactly.
out and sort of, do I have a recipe for a good dessert?
Yeah, yeah.
Looking through it.
Yeah, yeah. It's not working. So,
No. And what about the things that they are things that you do use, you do need them, you want them, you love them, but they're just disorganized, just completely disorganized. You
mm,
have no system, there's nowhere to put them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the second category, things that are untidy and disorganized.
That's right.
And yeah, and I always say, like, this is a different issue we're struggling with. Like, if somebody really has just a messy home, but whatever that person has, he or she or they, is what they're actually really using, then it's a different story. I would then start wondering, like, okay, if you're saying you really love these things, why are you not taking better care of them? And I feel like that then sometimes can come back to how they treat themselves as well. This is another reason why I often say decluttering is self-love, because if we're like, most people get very frustrated when it's a mess, and there is scientific proof to that, that we as humans have a hard time dealing with chaos. So it's like a different reason and a different issue behind it, but it is clutter in a way, just of a different kind, or a different category, like I say here. So
it can be a very complex thing, I find, because there's a lot of emotion and a lot of energy tied up in our things. But really, your environment is simply a reflection of what's going on inside you, So when I was doing feng shui consultations and someone would come to me and tell me that their life was chaotic and they're being pulled in all different directions, and there were all these things going on, I knew chances were when I went to their home what I was going to find. It was going to be a mess, and it usually was either the whole house or just certain areas. But there's definite correlation between what's going on in your home, what's going on with you, and what's going on in your life.
I say that your home is a mirror of your soul. So you basically say the same thing.
It absolutely is. And people think, oh no, it's just the place where I live, and I just have stuff. But it's never about the stuff. It's so much deeper than that.
Well, Wendy, Linda. Well, I don't know where to get Wendy from. I don't know. I remember.
That's all right. I'll answer to anything.
You answer to any name? That is lovely. So, Linda, see, that's what happens when we're not talking enough. Then I'm calling you weird names.
Because we haven't been together. That's right.
Yeah, Linda. So, next time we're talking on your channel, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. I haven't quite decided what we're talking about, but it will be energy related.
Energy and clutter related, as always. So it was really lovely to chat with you again.
Yes, great.
Always insightful, and thanks so much.
I hope it's been helpful for somebody, to listen and maybe gain some new insight.
And if you watch this and you have questions or something is unclear what we were talking about, just leave the comment below and we will answer it, either in writing, answering to your comment, or we might even make another YouTube live and chat about it,
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much, Linda.
All right, thanks, Connie. A pleasure as always.
Thank you. Likewise. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.